Imagine waking up every morning convinced you're doing everything right for your kidneys, drinking enough water, avoiding too much salt, staying active, only to discover that the habit causing the most damage happens in the final hour before you fall asleep. That sounds hard to believe, but it's exactly why so many adults don't realize their kidneys are under stress until years later. Here's the unsettling part. Your kidneys rarely send an early warning. Unlike a sore muscle or an aching joint, they can lose a significant amount of their filtering ability without causing noticeable pain. By the time routine blood work reveals a problem, much of that damage may already have occurred. And once kidney function is lost, the body has very limited ability to restore it. What many people never hear is that nighttime is one of the most important periods for kidney recovery. As you sleep, your body shifts into repair mode. Blood pressure naturally falls, your kidneys work under less strain, and they have an opportunity to recover from everything they've processed throughout the day. But what you eat or avoid eating before bed can either support that process or quietly make their job even harder. This becomes especially important after the age of 60. As we get older, the kidneys become more vulnerable to years of accumulated wear and tear. Small daily choices that once seemed insignificant suddenly begin to matter far more than most people realize. In today's video, we're exploring several evening fruits that may help support healthy kidney function overnight. Some are well known. Others might completely change the way you think about bedtime nutrition, and there's one fruit in particular that many people with kidney concerns have been told to avoid entirely. The truth is more nuanced, and we'll look at why before you decide whether it deserves a place in your diet. Stay with me until the end, because I'll also share a simple nighttime drink that combines some of the safest and most beneficial ingredients into one easy bedtime routine. But before we get there, I want to speak to anyone watching who feels they've waited too long. If you've recently learned your kidney numbers aren't where you'd like them to be, don't lose hope. While damaged kidney tissue can't simply regenerate, many people are able to slow the progression of kidney decline dramatically through consistent lifestyle changes. I've seen older adults maintain stable kidney function for years by making smarter choices. Not drastic ones, just the right ones repeated every day. That's why videos like this matter. My goal isn't to overwhelm you with medical jargon. It's to help you understand the everyday decisions that can protect your health, preserve your independence, and help you stay active for years to come. So let's begin with the very first fruit, because this one sets the foundation for everything that follows. Before we look at the first fruit, there's something you need to understand about why your kidneys become so vulnerable as the years pass. Most people imagine the kidneys as two simple organs that clean the blood. In reality, they're more like incredibly advanced water treatment plants, working around the clock without taking a single day off. Inside each kidney are roughly 1 million microscopic filtering units. Think of them as tiny strainers that separate waste from everything your body still needs. Here's the catch. You don't get replacement filters. The ones you're born with are expected to last your entire lifetime. Once enough of them become damaged, the remaining filters are forced to work even harder, creating a cycle that slowly accelerates kidney decline. So what causes those filters to wear out? One of the biggest culprits is something most people already know about: high blood pressure. Imagine forcing water through a delicate coffee filter with far more pressure than it was designed to handle. At first, nothing seems wrong, but after years of constant strain, tiny tears begin to appear. That's remarkably similar to what elevated blood pressure does inside your kidneys. The second threat is far less obvious. Every day, normal metabolism creates unstable molecules called free radicals. In small amounts, they're manageable. But when they build up faster than your body can neutralize them, they trigger oxidative stress, a process that slowly damages healthy cells throughout the body, including the fragile blood vessels inside the kidneys. Now here's where the story takes an interesting turn. Your kidneys aren't designed to work under the same conditions 24 hours a day. During healthy sleep, blood pressure naturally falls. Doctors sometimes call this your body's nighttime recovery phase. It's when the kidneys finally get a chance to operate under less stress and recover from everything they filtered throughout the day. Unfortunately, not everyone experiences this normal overnight drop. Many older adults maintain higher blood pressure even while sleeping, and research has linked this pattern with faster loss of kidney function over time. That's exactly why your evening routine deserves more attention than it gets. The right foods before bed can help provide protective plant compounds, support healthy blood vessels, reduce oxidative stress, and avoid placing unnecessary strain on the kidneys during their overnight recovery window. And that's where our first fruit earns its place. Blueberries. If there were one fruit that consistently appears near the top of kidney supportive nutrition, blueberries would be difficult to ignore. Their deep blue color isn't just attractive, it's a sign they're packed with natural pigments called anthocyanins. These compounds have been widely studied because of their powerful antioxidant activity. Remember the oxidative stress we talked about a moment ago? Anthocyanins help your body defend against it. Since healthy kidneys depend on healthy blood vessels, anything that supports those vessels may also help protect the delicate filtering structures they supply. Blueberries offer another practical advantage. Compared with many other fruits, they are relatively modest in potassium, making them a sensible option for many people. Although anyone with advanced kidney disease should always follow the guidance of their healthcare professional regarding potassium intake. For most people, an evening serving doesn't need to be large. Around half a cup is enough. Fresh or frozen both work well, and frozen berries are often picked at peak ripeness, helping preserve many of their beneficial plant compounds. They're naturally sweet enough to satisfy a late-night craving without overwhelming your body with added sugar. But blueberries aren't the only berry worth discussing. Our next fruit has spent decades being associated with just one health problem, even though its benefits extend much further. Cranberries. Ask someone why people drink cranberry juice and you'll probably hear the same answer: urinary tract infections. There's truth to that, but the reason is fascinating. Cranberries contain unique plant compounds that make it more difficult for certain bacteria to cling to the lining of the urinary tract. If harmful bacteria can't attach easily, they're less likely to multiply and travel farther into the urinary system. Why does that matter for your kidneys? Because preventing infections lower in the urinary tract may reduce the chances of bacteria reaching the kidneys, where infections can become much more serious. Beyond that, cranberries also contribute valuable antioxidants that support your body's natural defenses against cellular damage. The important detail is choosing the right form. Many cranberry drinks sold in stores are loaded with added sugar, turning what could be a healthy choice into something much less helpful. Instead, look for unsweetened cranberry juice diluted with water, or enjoy a small portion of unsweetened dried cranberries if they fit your overall nutrition plan. Now let's move to a fruit that surprises many people: red grapes. Color matters here. The darker red and purple varieties contain a natural compound called resveratrol, found primarily in the skin. Scientists have studied resveratrol extensively because of its potential role in supporting healthy aging and cardiovascular function. Healthy blood vessels aren't just important for your heart, they're equally important for your kidneys. When blood vessels remain flexible and function well, they help support normal circulation and healthy blood pressure, especially during the overnight hours when the kidneys benefit from reduced workload. Red grapes also contain small amounts of naturally occurring melatonin, a hormone involved in regulating your sleep-wake cycle. While the amount isn't enough to replace good sleep habits, it adds another interesting reason they fit nicely into an evening routine. There's just one thing to remember. Grapes contain more natural sugar than berries, so instead of eating an entire bowl, think moderation. Around 10 to 15 whole red grapes is generally a reasonable serving. Leave the skins on. That's where many of the beneficial plant compounds are concentrated. One simple trick is freezing them beforehand. They become naturally refreshing, take longer to eat, and can easily satisfy the urge for a sugary dessert without reaching for ice cream or processed sweets. And the next fruit on our list may be the one people misunderstand the most. This fruit doesn't work by acting directly on the kidneys. Instead, it starts somewhere completely different. And that's exactly what makes it so interesting. Apples. For years, scientists focused almost entirely on the kidneys themselves. Today, research is revealing that another organ may have a surprisingly large influence on kidney health: your digestive system. This relationship is often called the gut-kidney connection. Think of your gut as the body's command center for trillions of bacteria. When those beneficial microbes are well fed, they produce compounds that help support a healthier internal environment. When they are neglected, inflammation can gradually increase throughout the body, including in the bloodstream. Your kidneys must continuously filter. One of the easiest ways to nourish those beneficial bacteria is with soluble fiber. Apples happen to be one of the richest everyday sources of a soluble fiber called pectin. Unlike many nutrients that are absorbed quickly, pectin travels farther into the digestive tract, where it becomes food for beneficial gut bacteria. In return, those microbes produce substances that researchers believe may help support overall metabolic and immune health, and that's good news for your kidneys, because every improvement upstream can reduce the workload downstream. But the inside of the apple isn't the whole story. Its peel contains valuable plant compounds, including quercetin, an antioxidant that's been studied for its potential role in supporting healthy blood vessels and reducing oxidative stress. So unless your healthcare provider has advised otherwise, try eating the apple with its skin intact. For an evening snack, one medium apple is usually plenty. If you enjoy varieties with a slightly tart flavor, such as Granny Smith, you'll often get a little more fiber and slightly less natural sugar than sweeter varieties. Want to make it feel like dessert? Slice the apple and dust it lightly with cinnamon. It adds warmth and flavor without adding sugar. Now we've looked at fruits that support antioxidants. We've talked about protecting blood vessels. And we've even explored how your gut can influence kidney health. But the next fruit stands apart for a completely different reason. It targets something many people with kidney problems have never even heard of. Before we continue, if you're finding this information helpful, take a second to subscribe. Every week, we break down complex health research into practical habits you can actually use, especially if you're looking to stay healthier, stronger, and more independent as you get older. And if someone in your family is living with high blood pressure, diabetes, or concerns about kidney health, consider sharing this video with them. Sometimes one small change, repeated consistently, can make a much bigger difference than people expect. Now for one of the most overlooked fruits on this list, tart cherries. Most people think of cherries as something that appears for a few weeks each summer, but tart cherries deserve attention for reasons that go far beyond their taste. They have been studied for their relationship with uric acid. Uric acid is a natural waste product created when the body breaks down certain substances called purines. Normally, healthy kidneys remove it efficiently. However, when uric acid levels climb too high, problems can begin. It can contribute to painful gout attacks. It may increase the risk of certain kidney stones. And growing research suggests persistently elevated uric acid may also place additional stress on kidney function over time. Several studies have found that tart cherries may help support healthier uric acid levels, making them especially interesting for people looking to reduce unnecessary strain on their kidneys. But that's only half the story. Tart cherries are also one of the richest natural food sources of melatonin. Why is that important? Because good sleep isn't just about feeling rested the next morning. During healthy sleep, your nervous system shifts into a restorative state, helping blood pressure settle into its normal overnight rhythm. As you've learned throughout this video, those quieter nighttime hours are when your kidneys benefit from operating under less pressure. In other words, tart cherries may support two goals at once, helping maintain healthier uric acid levels while also fitting naturally into an evening routine designed to encourage restorative sleep. And if you thought that was surprising, the next fruit has one of the most misunderstood reputations of them all. One important reminder before we move on. No single fruit can repair damaged kidneys overnight. What these foods can do is support the body's natural protective systems when they're combined with healthy habits over time. And that's exactly what makes the next fruits worth adding to your evening routine. Strawberries. At first glance, strawberries seem like they're simply a delicious dessert fruit. But underneath that sweetness is an impressive collection of protective plant compounds. They provide generous amounts of vitamin C along with antioxidants such as ellagic acid, both of which have been studied for their ability to help the body defend against oxidative stress. Remember, oxidative stress is one of the silent forces that gradually damages delicate kidney tissue over the years. Reducing that burden matters. Strawberries also contribute natural anti-inflammatory compounds, and since persistent, low-grade inflammation is associated with many chronic diseases, including kidney disease, they fit perfectly into a bedtime eating pattern focused on recovery rather than overload. Another advantage, they're surprisingly light. Because strawberries are made up mostly of water and fiber, they satisfy a sweet craving without delivering the heavy sugar load found in many evening desserts. For most people, about half a cup to 1 cup of fresh strawberries is a sensible serving. Enjoy them by themselves, pair them with a spoonful of plain yogurt, or sprinkle a little cinnamon on top for extra flavor without relying on added sugar. Now let's move to a fruit that often gets overlooked entirely. Pineapple. When people think about pineapple, they usually think of tropical vacations or fruit salads. Few realize it contains something unique. A natural enzyme called bromelain. Unlike the antioxidants we've discussed so far, bromelain has been widely studied because of its role in supporting the body's normal inflammatory response and healthy digestion. Why does digestion matter in a kidney discussion? Because every system in your body is connected. When digestion functions efficiently and overall inflammation remains under control, it may help reduce unnecessary stress throughout the body, including the organs responsible for filtering your blood. Pineapple also supplies vitamin C along with additional antioxidant compounds that help support healthy cells. And here's something that surprises many people. Despite its sweet taste, pineapple contains less potassium than many expect, making it a reasonable fruit option for many individuals. Still, anyone following a potassium-restricted diet should always check with their healthcare provider before making changes. Moderation remains the key. Around half a cup of fresh pineapple is usually enough to enjoy its benefits without consuming excessive natural sugar. Whenever possible, choose fresh or frozen pineapple instead of canned varieties packed in sugary syrup. Sometimes the healthiest choice is simply the least processed one. Now we're about to reach the fruit that creates more confusion than almost any other. If you've ever searched online about kidney-friendly foods, you've probably seen people warning others to avoid oranges completely. But is that advice always correct? Not exactly. Like many nutrition topics, the answer depends on context. Let's talk about citrus fruits. Oranges, lemons, limes, and similar fruits contain a natural compound called citrate. This compound plays an interesting role inside the urinary system. It can bind with calcium in the urine, making it more difficult for certain types of kidney stones to form. For people who are prone to calcium-based kidney stones, maintaining healthy citrate levels may be an important part of prevention. That's one reason healthcare professionals sometimes recommend increasing dietary citrate under appropriate circumstances. Citrus fruits also provide vitamin C and numerous antioxidant compounds that support overall cellular health, including the blood vessels that nourish the kidneys. So why do so many people hear they should stay away from oranges? Because this is where more individual kidney function changes the conversation. And understanding that difference may be one of the most important lessons in this entire video. Now comes the part where blanket advice can actually become misleading. You've probably heard people say, if you're worried about your kidneys, stay away from oranges and bananas. That statement is neither completely true nor completely false. The missing piece is who the advice is meant for. Let's talk about potassium. Potassium is an essential mineral. Your muscles need it, your nerves depend on it, your heart relies on it to beat normally. For people with healthy kidney function, excess potassium is usually filtered out efficiently, and diets rich in potassium-containing foods are often associated with healthier blood pressure. But the situation changes when kidney function becomes significantly reduced. As chronic kidney disease progresses, the kidneys may struggle to remove extra potassium from the bloodstream. If potassium levels become too high, a condition known as hyperkalemia, it can interfere with the heart's electrical system and become a serious medical emergency. That's why you'll often hear healthcare providers limit high potassium foods for certain patients. So here's the simplest way to think about it. If your kidneys are functioning normally, citrus fruits are often a nutritious addition to your diet. If you've been diagnosed with moderate or advanced chronic kidney disease, you're receiving dialysis, or you're taking medications that affect potassium levels, don't make major dietary changes until you've reviewed your most recent blood work with your healthcare provider. Nutrition should always match your individual health, not someone else's advice on the internet. For those whose potassium levels are normal and whose doctor has no concerns, a small serving of fresh orange in the evening can provide natural citrate along with antioxidants that support overall health. Now, before we finish, there's something even more important than choosing the right fruit: knowing when food is enough and when it isn't. Healthy eating can support kidney function. It cannot replace medical care when warning signs appear. If you notice swelling in your feet, ankles, hands, or around your eyes, if your urine becomes persistently foamy or contains blood, if you're urinating much less than usual, or if you develop persistent pain in your side or lower back where the kidneys are located, those are signals to contact a healthcare professional promptly, not problems to solve with a different grocery list. The earlier kidney disease is identified, the more opportunities there are to slow its progression. That's why regular blood and urine testing becomes increasingly valuable as we get older, especially for anyone living with diabetes, high blood pressure, or a family history of kidney disease. Food should be viewed as one powerful tool, not the entire toolbox. And that brings me to a story that has stayed with me. Several years ago, I met a woman I'll call Eleanor. She had recently retired, stayed physically active, and by her own account felt perfectly healthy. Nothing seemed wrong. She had no pain, no dramatic symptoms, no reason to believe her kidneys needed attention. Then her routine laboratory results came back. One number, called estimated glomerular filtration rate, or eGFR, had begun to drift lower than expected. This measurement helps estimate how efficiently the kidneys are filtering the blood. Another marker, creatinine, had risen slightly, suggesting her kidneys were no longer clearing waste quite as effectively as before. She was surprised because from the outside, she felt completely fine. And that's exactly what makes kidney disease so easy to overlook in its earliest stages. Let me leave you with a story, because sometimes numbers make more sense when they belong to a real person. I'll call her Margaret. She was 68 years old, stayed active, enjoyed gardening, and rarely missed her annual checkups. She wasn't living with diabetes, she hardly ever drank alcohol, and she assumed kidney disease was something that happened to people with obvious health problems, not someone like her. Then a routine blood test told a different story. Her kidney function had started to decline, not dramatically, not enough to make her feel sick, but enough to tell us that her kidneys were beginning to lose ground. The encouraging news was that we caught it early. Instead of immediately focusing on medication, we first looked at the habits she repeated every evening. Like many people, dinner wasn't really the end of eating. A bowl of ice cream while watching television, a handful of salty crackers, sometimes packaged snacks that seemed harmless because the portions were small. Individually, none of those choices looked like a major problem. Repeated night after night, they became part of the burden her kidneys carried. So we made a different plan. Instead of processed snacks, she began ending the day with lighter options. Some evenings it was blueberries mixed with strawberries. Other nights it was a sliced apple sprinkled with cinnamon. Occasionally she chose a small serving of unsweetened tart cherries. Because her potassium levels were normal, citrus remained part of her daytime meals rather than her bedtime routine. She also added one surprisingly simple habit. After dinner, she walked for about 10 minutes. Nothing intense, just enough movement to support healthy circulation and help her body settle into the evening. 12 months later, her follow-up tests brought encouraging news. Her kidney function hadn't magically returned to what it had been years earlier. That's not how kidneys work. But it also hadn't continued its downward slide. Her blood pressure had improved, her daily energy was better, and perhaps most importantly, she had given her kidneys a more supportive environment instead of asking them to work overtime every night. Sometimes success isn't reversing damage. Sometimes success is preventing the next step of decline. Now let's finish with the practical takeaway I promised. A simple evening drink that combines several of the kidney-friendly foods we've discussed. Think of it as a nutritious alternative to reaching for chips, cookies, or ice cream before bed. Start with about a quarter cup of blueberries. Add 4 or 5 fresh strawberries. Pour in a small splash of unsweetened cranberry juice or unsweetened tart cherry juice, not juice cocktails loaded with added sugar. Next, add about half a cup of plain kefir or unsweetened yogurt. Besides providing protein, fermented dairy products also supply beneficial probiotics that help support the gut microbiome we talked about earlier. Add a little water until it reaches your preferred consistency. Finish with a light sprinkle of cinnamon. Blend until smooth. That's all. The result is naturally lower in added sugar, rich in antioxidant-containing fruits, and built around ingredients that fit comfortably into a healthy evening routine. If you don't enjoy smoothies, don't worry. The blender isn't the important part, the habit is. A bowl of fresh berries with plain yogurt provides many of the same nutritional advantages. If you prefer a slightly sweeter flavor, add a few red grapes. If dairy doesn't agree with you, simply leave out the yogurt and use water instead. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is replacing heavily processed nighttime snacks with whole foods your body can work with more easily. You'll also notice something I intentionally left out of this recipe. Citrus fruits, not because they're unhealthy, but because potassium recommendations vary from person to person. Keeping the recipe centered on lower potassium fruits makes it suitable for a wider range of people, while anyone with kidney disease should still personalize their diet with their healthcare provider. So if you're wondering where to begin tonight, keep it simple. Start with these 5 habits. Finish eating a little earlier instead of grazing late into the evening. Replace one processed bedtime snack with a modest serving of fresh fruit. If you enjoy smoothies, make the kidney-friendly blend we just covered. Take a relaxed 10-minute walk after dinner whenever possible. And if you've ever been told you have kidney disease, or you're unsure where your kidney health stands, ask your healthcare provider whether your current potassium intake matches your latest blood test results. Small changes don't always produce small results. When repeated every evening, they become the routines your kidneys experience thousands of times over the years. And before you leave, there's one more thing you should know. There's another kidney marker hiding in a routine blood test that can begin changing long before many people notice symptoms, and most people have never heard its name. In the next video, I'll explain exactly what that marker is, why it matters, and how understanding it early could help you have a very different conversation with your doctor in the years ahead.